Sheena. My pronouns are she, her. I'm a software engineer at Nava and chair of Earth Tones, Nava's Black Employee Resource Group. You can find me on Twitter, sometimes, at She's Geek and Chic.
And hello, everyone. My name is Shaw, pronouns he, him. I'm the COO, as mentioned, and one of the co-founders of Nava, and I'm the executive sponsor of Earth Tones. As mentioned, my Twitter handle, I'm probably on Twitter maybe too much these days, but is Shaw. As a bit about us, Nava is a public benefit corporation. We got our start being brought in to help fix healthcare.gov after its rocky launch several years ago. And as had been made, I think, painfully clear during this administration, when government services are broken, people suffer. Nava's been working over the past few years to build software to support critical public programs like Medicare, Medicaid, SNAP, veteran services, and more recently working in kind of emergency environments to support unemployment insurance and helping roll out new legislation around paid family and medical leave at the state level. Our goal as an organization is to help people who need access to benefits that they deserve and to improve the effectiveness and resilience of the programs that serve them. But today we're not talking about our work, we're talking about our people. While I think we still have a lot of work to do as an organization, Nava is about 180 people across the country, majority women across all levels, and about half people of color, with several active ERGs now. A few years ago, though, we were pretty far off and had no way of organizing internally.
Tell me about it, Shah. I remember the exact moment of Earth Tone's conception. I came to Nava just 2 years into my engineering career, and I had exited a small startup in Chicago where I was not just the only Black engineer, but the single Black employee. A couple of months into my time at Nava, I distinctly recall sitting at my desk and looking up to the glorious sight of 3 Black people who were not me conversing. I was so excited to see other Black faces that I had to tell them. I meandered over, awkwardly told them how thrilled I was to see other Black people. We chatted, we shared the horror stories we all had about being the only burst of color in largely white spaces, and joked about starting a Black coalition. We started an Earth Tone Slack channel that day, started grabbing lunch together, and before long, Nava's first ERG was born. Now, don't get me wrong, I'm not talking about Beyonce levels of Blackness. This is how Nava looked when I started. There were a total of 5 Black people, me included, and 5 dwindled to 2 in a matter of months. But this brings me to an important point. The size of your company, the number of diverse persons your company currently employs, are of little consequence. You can start and build an ERG wherever you are. In fact, it's critically important to build spaces that are welcoming, inclusive, and accessible before the people who need these spaces most ever arrive. Let's think about physical ability for a moment. If you're the VP of engineering at a startup and you've just hired a rockstar engineer who requires the use of a wheelchair to increase their mobility, it would be much better to have planned for this scenario and to have ensured that the spaces in which you work are accessible to all kinds of bodies before those bodies arrive, rather than scrambling to do this important work on the fly after they already have. Proper preparation is necessary for all kinds of people, and you don't need numbers to create spaces for people before they arrive. Also, you don't need large numbers to take action. Have a dream, make it plain, have a plan. Shortly after launching Earth Tones, I was left as an army of one. But I was fueled by the support of Shah, a steadfast partner in crime, which is what every executive sponsor should be. While I didn't have other members to join me in the work, with him, what I had was an opportunity to lay my aspirations bare, a chance to imagine, out loud, what our company could be for people who looked like me, and a platform to create a real plan to get there. We planned, we got to work, and we've been able to accomplish great things. With just 2 people, we hosted the District Black Tech Forum, an event that brought tech professionals together to build strategies to support Black tech growth in DC. We secured 4 captivating speakers, all established tech leaders in DC, none of whom we knew before. And we were able to attract more than 50 attendees to the event. In the early days, I had a pie-in-the-sky goal to create a formal internship for local Howard University students to help launch the engineering careers of more diverse candidates. I was vocal about that dream to anyone who would listen. Well, I didn't get that internship, but in July 2019, Nava launched its own apprenticeship program that I helped plan. We provided on-the-job training, salary, and a clear path towards full-time employment for folks traditionally underrepresented in tech. We brought on 3 apprentices, all women of color, gave them dedicated mentorship and an opportunity to learn in a supportive environment on real project teams. In the end, we hired all 3 as full-time engineers. The program was such a success that we're doing it again this year. Applications actually open October 22nd, which is next Thursday. Maybe you or someone you know should apply. There's a lesson here. You can do hard things, make your aspirations known, and then create a plan to turn your aspirations into your realities. The things you hope to accomplish may be bigger than you can foresee at the time, but a commitment to working hard, a real partnership between your ERG leads and your executive sponsors, and a plan to delegate chunks of work to other company allies can get you there.
Thank you, Sheena. And I'm really proud of some of the accomplishments that Sheena talked about, some of the aspirations we were able to make some progress on. But we really couldn't have done anything without a real baseline level of trust between Sheena and I, something I deeply believe everyone needs to be able to bring their full selves to work. I remember the first meeting that Sheena and I had with Sheena as chair and myself as executive sponsor. I remember the intense feeling of shame, honestly, that a couple of our Black employees had recently left and that Sheena was left keeping the flame alive for Earth Tones. I remember the difficulty of having an honest and raw conversation about where we were at, how far Nava had still to go, while still being clear about our aspirations for Nava and our culture. But being transparent about where we were at, and even week to week, how we were feeling as people, was critical to be able to make clear what plans we had to make.
And being transparent is not always easy, but it is always necessary. While Shah is Nava's COO, as Earth Tone's executive sponsor, I still needed the ability to be candid with him about the progress that simply had to be made. And as Nava's number of Black employees grew, I needed the space to be vulnerable enough to both speak with a voice that was distinctly mine and with one that echoed the varied voices of the group I chair.
It's not, it is not easy work. It's not an easy role for Sheena. It's not an easy role for anyone to play. To find this balance between, I think, keeping yourself whole and representing the needs of your group. That type of work requires energy and space. And frankly, some check-ins, we would just call it that the news was too depressing or infuriating to talk about work or talk about the plans that we had. But building that space and fostering the trust in our working relationship meant that Sheena could hopefully safely call out what Earth Tones members were experiencing, and that I could set aside my role as an executive and be present as a sponsor, an advocate, and a sounding board. Truly earning trust, as Ashante just mentioned, not just asking for trust, meant being more than just a passive or encouraging ally, but by being a partner in crime, an accomplice willing to contribute to the difficult and challenging work of building a more inclusive organization. Because an inclusive and more equitable organization isn't just reflected in who arrives at a company, but who stays and who thrives. How and why people get promoted, how seriously code of conduct violations will be addressed. An organization that's earned that trust, that has successful ERGs, means an organization that has an additional source of accountability and partnership for this difficult but rewarding work, that then ultimately improves the working environment and culture for everyone. But while trust is hard to earn and built over actions and intentions and dialogue over time, it can be broken really easily. This summer, when protests began again after George Floyd's murder, like many organizations, Nava's executive team tried to mobilize to respond. We ran towards goals and initiatives. We set up a donation matching program, discussed targets for diversity across the company. But we ended up breaking trust along the way. We'd tried to move quickly, but in doing so had actually excluded the voices and perspectives of the Black employees at Nava that we were trying to support. This was a hard and tough lesson and required myself and the rest of the executive team resetting some of our own white saviorism to make space for dialogue and repair. In the months since, we organized a meeting with all of Earth Tones to meet all of the executive team, holding space for candid and clear feedback. It was a tough conversation, but important to sit with that discomfort, to keep our individual defenses down and not try to make any excuses. Nothing about us without us. A clear piece of feedback led to us shifting our posture. Since that meeting, we created a new space, a monthly meeting for ERG leads to meet with the entire executive team so we can have a regular space for feedback, for dialogue, and to discuss and generate new ideas. And we've intentionally slowed things down. Rather than trying to rush around and fix things or aim for improving perception rather than reality, we're pausing to have the right conversations with the right folks in the room. Because as the company has grown, it's not just Sheena and I anymore. Our groups for gender equity, LGBTQIA+ identifying folks, and Juntos, our Hispanic and Latinx ERG, have all followed the path that Earth Tones has paved. So now we're not only trying to create spaces before folks arrive, but rethink what new types of spaces we need to be able to have inclusive conversations as we've grown as a company. So it's been a journey, not always a straight path, but deeply important work to do.
So, to wrap up, you started an ERG. Now what? Now, create spaces before there are people to fill the spaces.
Have a dream and have a plan.
Do the hard things. You're more than capable.
And be transparent. Put in the work to earn trust.
When trust is broken, and trust will be broken, rinse and repeat. Be transparent. Earn that trust again. Thank you. And for those of you out there who are part of an employee affinity group, we have started, if you've started your own or have questions for us, we'd love to talk. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you both.